Virginia City, Montana. This remarkable town sprang to life in the summer of 1863. The richest gold strike ever recorded gave it an overnight population of more than 10,000 human beings. It exploded into existence and seethed with activity, glamour, murder, hangings, and riches. Virtue, violence, and vice panned from the same stream. Here was a boomtown that roared with vigor. Then even these rich fields played out. The gold was gone. People departed as fast as they'd come. The population dwindled. Smaller, smaller. 500, 400, 300, 200. Virginia City almost became a ghost town. Almost, but not quite. Here was a town that refused to fade into oblivion. Virginia City refused to die. Well, today, Virginia City still lives. And even more incredible, it looks exactly as it did in its heyday almost 100 years ago. Our camera crew is there in answer to this request from Arthur Southurst of Riverside, Ontario, Canada. And he writes, I'm asking to see the two interesting stories concerning Virginia City, Montana. First, the story of the richest gold strike. And second, the story of how and why this town was completely rebuilt so it looks just as it did in 1863. Thank you. Well, Mr. Southurst, you asked for it, so our crew is ready in Virginia City. And standing in front of our camera is Mayor Allen Dudley.
On behalf of the people of Virginia City, I would like to welcome your crew and the You Asked For It audience, Jack. Although Virginia City has been rebuilt to resemble as nearly as possible what it did 100 years ago, I doubt if those old-timers buried up there on the hill would recognize it as the rough, tough mining town they knew as Virginia City.
Yep, you're right about that. The buildings are the same, but the gold sickness is gone. Their saloon wouldn't be the same. They'd miss the smell of tobacco, the sound of a tinkling piano, and the bloody fights. At the Wells Fargo station, they'd wait in vain for mail from home. The stagecoach with its 6 tired horses, shouting driver, and shotgun messenger will never come again. The assayer's office is the same, and yet it too would be different to the old-timers. Absent would be the lusty excitement of men who found themselves suddenly rich. It's the same town in every way, but it just can't be their Virginia City.
My name is Sadie Brakey. I'm nearly 76 years old. I've lived here all my life. And Mr. Charlie Bovey has made Virginia City as near like it used to be as like when I was a little girl.
The things I remember in this town as a little girl are naturally women's things. The dressmaker's shop with all the latest fashions from the East. Here, the ladies of Virginia City gathered to exchange small talk and spend some of their husband's gold dust. Women are basically the same, and living through a gold rush in a boomtown isn't going to change them. In those days, even as now, all sorts of preparations were on sale for improving a lady's appearance, and the general store was crammed full of useful household articles.
My name is George Gaughan. I'm the town marshal. I was born and raised in Virginia City. My father and mother were born and raised in Virginia City. My grandfather come to Virginia City with the first stampede in June of 1863. He was one of the first signers of the Vigilante Oath and helped clean up this country. And as far as myself and family are concerned, there will never be a ghost town in Virginia City.
Reckon we all feel that way. A town like this has seen too much life to know death. Too much precious history is interwoven into its lifespan. Take the Montana Post. It was the first newspaper in the whole state. Stands today just as it did nearly 100 years ago when my grandfather came here. In fact, it was this newspaper that brought him the sad story of President Lincoln's assassination. Kiskaden, the man who owned this store, is said to be the father of that famous New York actress, Maud Adams. This town's practically a monument to the past, and its past was really something. An estimated $300 million was taken in gold. Sheriff Plummer himself was the leader of a gang of cutthroats that committed 190 murders in less than 6 months. The vigilantes finally hung them. Henry Gilbert searched for gold so he could open this brewery, Montana's first. It stands today just as it did in 1863. These old cars have all been restored, and so has our town. You see, we care about things that are old. Like I said in the beginning, Virginia City will never be a ghost town.
My name is Zena Hoff. I come to Virginia City about 25 years ago, and at that time there was only a handful of people, but it was a long ways from dead. It just seemed to refuse to die.
These are the two people mostly responsible for Virginia City's restoration. These are the Boveys, Sue and Charlie. 81 years after the discovery of gold here, they drove into town, took one look at it, and bought it. They stayed and, with a labor of love, rebuilt Virginia City. They carefully studied old photographs and plans, talked to old-timers who remembered, and put this town back together again so that now it stands just as it did in 1863. Instead of imprisoning history in a museum glass case, they set out to reproduce it as it actually was, in the same old buildings and along the same streets where road agents once swaggered and miners spent their precious dust. In this dramatic old town, visitors can take a backward step into time nearly 100 years.